Hey everyone, welcome to the Magical Healing the World podcast. My name is David, here with my lovely wife, Miss Megan.
Hey y'all.
And we have such a treat for you. We've been following this incredible human being for quite a while. We spoke in Clubhouse briefly. We could not recommend following him and his posts and all his work. He's doing more, working with these beautiful plant medicines that, as you know, in our community knows, we follow, we work with, and we have such respect for the medicines. He works, Shaman Samer is joined us today. He works with, he's a shaman, works in ceremony of many plant medicines, but he also has a foundational belief that we couldn't align more with about having a clean vessel. It's so much more, not taking anything away from the plant medicines. They're taking away from that, but it's so much more than just the medicines when you're talking about the depth of healing.
Or you talk about
integration, anything. So
we want to live a long life.
We are just so grateful to have you here with us today, so we can learn from you. Thank you for taking the time with us today.
Guys, this is awesome. David, thank you for this wonderful introduction. Megan, also, it's nice to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I've always been super intrigued because, and I don't want to jump too far ahead because I definitely want you to talk about your ceremonies. They're very unique, it seems, in the medicines you work with, especially the medicines you work with for integration after ayahuasca. I think that's so cool. But we would love to learn about you first. Your story. What got you on this path?
Yeah. Well, David, I think, or I want to assume, like the majority of all of us who first started looking for psychedelics, I was looking for a way to heal things in my life that I couldn't find solutions for anywhere else. And, one thing led to another, and eventually I ended up being deeply depressed, very alcoholic, trying to shut all the pain down with alcohol and junk food, a lot of tobacco, like cigarettes, and eventually my entire energy field just collapsed on itself and I became very suicidal. And this is where I found ayahuasca. I went to the jungle in Iquitos in 2009.
Your first experience was in the jungle?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I booked in 2008. I went in 2009. I was so scared.
Yeah.
Like my first ayahuasca ceremony was not a good ceremony for me. I was terrified. All my trauma showed up. All my addictions showed up. And my psyche literally cracked and collapsed and I blacked out. Wow. And I thought I was dying, and the last thought I had in my mind was like, I'm sorry, Mom, I couldn't say bye because I was traveling from a different country, from my mother country. And I thought I died. And I woke up the second day. I was traumatized from ayahuasca for 3 years after that.
Wow.
And so I kept drinking ayahuasca during these 3 years. And every day there was a ceremony. I used to sit in front of the maloca, terrified, shaking before going in. But I insisted on going in because I thought, it's either this or I die. So what the heck, let's do it.
I want to point out something.
This is how my journey started with the healing.
It takes such a strong spirit to do that.
Yes.
That traumatic. Yes. And then you continued on. It doesn't surprise me that you're on the path you are, helping so many people the way you are. That takes a strong spirit, because so many, and I'm not judging it, but so many today are conditioned into the easy way or not going against hard things. And your spirit has got to be so strong to continue to go forward with that. I didn't mean to interrupt.
People like you and me and Megan, we get to do these experiences so that we can offer the good ones for other people,
And you and your experience is so similar. I did my first two, they did have healing outcomes, but they were not good experiences. I mean, once we found the shamans we work with now, it's been amazing, and I've done it almost 20 times.
I mean, eventually, sorry.
I know. I was just saying, we're so in alignment with you, and then I'm like, wow, not only do you work with similar medicines, but similar experiences, and so it's amazing that you were able to do that for 2 years, or 3 years. For me, I waited 2 years to go back.
No, I was like, there's no way. I went back and I started doing dietas, and I went really deep in it because I knew it was my way out.
Mm.
And my first experience woke my initial childhood trauma when I was 11 months old, and there was this huge explosion where I was sleeping, and the entire room, caught fire, and my whole face caught fire. And since then, I was living with that trauma without knowing I was traumatized because it was prelingual. And so that was what showed up. And it took me all that time to unravel it because it's such a deep trauma that it built, my identity got built all around it.
Yes.
And so it took me all that time to deal with my trauma, to go deep in my emotions, in my subconscious, in my body. And this is what made me, so knowledgeable about helping people in their traumas, because until now, I haven't seen a trauma deeper than mine.
Mm.
It's
I
as simple as that.
get it.
Wow.
I get that.
Yeah. So that's what makes me good in helping people in their traumas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you continued on, continue to drink the medicine, stay out and doing the malokas, all of that for 3 years.
3 years until I moved beyond the fear of drinking ayahuasca.
Mm.
Yeah.
But then a couple of years after that, I ended up leaving my entire life and moved to the jungle and lived there for 5, 6 years straight. Worked
Wow.
in one of the centers in the jungle and helped, thousands of people every year, and worked with very, very good shamans there. And eventually, at one point, with COVID and all the changes in the world and the center moving on, I ended up opening and being my own shaman and having my own mesa, and I started working on my own.
Where are you located now?
In
Like,
Iquitos. Now I'm in the Sacred Valley outside of Cusco,
Mm.
in a town called Urubamba. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like 15, 20 minutes away from where you take the train to Machu Picchu.
wow. Oh, wow. This is amazing.
That's what a beautiful story, that path, and how I couldn't imagine how many people you've helped on such deep levels, because that's what these medicines do. And the facilitator, it's the channel. You have to like hold that strength. You have to hold that center while these things are happening. And for whether you chose the path, God, whatever, a little bit of both, for you to go through those deep traumas, I mean, the strength you must be able to hold for people that are going through their difficult, that I found, I have not near the experience you do, but I found in my some experience beginning to go the facilitation route under my teacher, Master Shaman Daniel Jimenez, that it takes such strength to hold the center while some of these things are happening. And I mean, your experience must have made you so strong to do that.
Yeah, and David, the way I see it is life as a whole is a big school, and we're always learning things. And all these people I worked with were teaching me something and were making me stronger. Even though I was the one helping them,
Mhm.
every time someone would come to me with a very distorted or very erratic or very imposing energy that needs healing, I found myself needing to hold my strength so I can contain that energy for them so that they can heal. And so, in a way, all these energies were teaching, were like teachers for me that eventually made me who I am. And I'm still learning until today. And every time I meet someone and every time I work with someone, there's always a thing or two that I'm learning from them. Whether it's a mechanism of psyche, whether it's an emotional thing, uh, or just simple intellectual stuff. There's always learnings that are happening, and that's what makes someone strong. If this is how you like to describe it, I like to describe it as more and more containing and more stable.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you've you do something so unique. I'm so interested to hear how and
I
when
know where you're going
the
with this.
story behind integrating the San Pedro. That's a medicine that we actually haven't experienced yet. We've wanted
calling
it's been calling to us.
It keeps coming up. And I told David I intuitively felt I needed to do it because we do ayahuasca, then a mushroom reprogramming mind ceremony. I felt called to do San Pedro for integration, but I didn't know why. And now he's telling me you do this too.
So could you tell us how all that came up?
Well, what happened is, you know, when you live full on in the jungle. Oh, hello.
This is Lucy. She's our mushroom shaman.
Oh. She's a medicine dog.
Yeah.
She is.
So, you know, when you live full time in the jungle, at one point, it's too hot, too humid, too fiery. Tobacco is everywhere. Ayahuasca is everywhere. All the trees, all the sanango, all the roots. At one point, it becomes like a pressure cooker.
Wow.
The psyche starts boiling up, and you have all these people coming in. And you know, in the jungle, it's not like the safest shamanism you can practice. There's always something going on that you need to protect yourself or help heal that might, you know, eventually hurt you or something. And so one day I was like doing a dieta, and I was like, spirits, tell me something, you know, I need help here. And they said, you need to get out of here so that you see the contrast of what's going on. And the only place I was able to go to was the Andean mountains, which is Cusco. And that was my vacation time from the jungle. And the next thing I saw myself hiking the mountains. And of course, I'm someone who, when I did my pact with the plants to work with them as a medicine, I asked them not to be exclusive to one plant. Like, I didn't want to be an ayahuasquero or an ayahuachumero, or I wanted to work with all the plants. I want to be working with all the frequencies for what people need. And so because of that, I was always exploring, and I still always explore new plants and new psychedelics to work with. And one of these plants turned out to be San Pedro, which people, you know, do here, and it's common to find in the markets, and you know, it's available. And so one day I found myself drinking San Pedro and hiking the mountain. And that literally pulled my insanity away from my mind and stabilized my entire energy field, because the mountain has so much power, and it's so stable, and it's so clear. It's like it pulls you out of the hectic energy of the jungle. And so I can literally say that the mountain, you know, saved me from going insane. And these days, there were my beginning days of exploring mountain shamanism and San Pedro. And I started meeting many people here. I eventually found out that in the mountains, there's the Queros, which are like the tribe that live in the mountains, and they don't have the shamanism per se that was imported by the conquistadores, which is practiced by the mestizos, you know, the chacapas and the maracas and the drums. All these are imported from Europe and that part of the world. And they use coca, and they don't have shamanism per se the way we have the modern concept of it. And so I found myself needing to do a ceremony with San Pedro, and because there was no shamanism that was superimposed on it, I ended up needing to create one. And what I did is I created my own cosmology, which is working with detox therapy, sound therapy, and San Pedro. And eventually all that became a whole practice that I do now. And I honestly don't know anyone who's doing it. But I heard that you guys are including the food therapy, so this is great.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit of my journey with San Pedro and how things worked out that way. Yeah.
There's so many reasons I love that approach, you know, and again, this, you know, not judging anyone's approach, because everyone's, it's beautiful for what they're working with, but it really draws me the full holistic approach. You're taking a much, how do I say this? It's a much more inclusive approach to any individual, a full healing. Like
Yeah.
I've seen people
It's a
fully heal.
formula.
I've seen people
It's a
fully heal
formula.
off ayahuasca, but the fact that you have this integration with San Pedro based off of your experience that called to you divinely,
Yeah.
and then the detox. So could you take us through, like, I would love to experience it sometime. By the way, we should come out there sometime. But like, what when someone comes to you, what's the approach you take them through? Because I've never heard of anyone doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we have, I do like the classic, retreat of 7 days or 9 days where you come do 4 ceremonies. I usually always include 1 or 2 San Pedros in the ceremony, in the retreats, because San Pedro is a heart plant medicine. And you drink San Pedro, and for the first couple of hours, your mind is like, nothing's happening. Like, what did you give me? I'm not even tripping. And then a little bit of time after that, the person realizes that they are actually deep, deep into the trance, but on a very different center, which is the heart center and the 3 emotional centers below it. And so I found that ayahuasca is an amazing, amazing plant. I don't deny that. I work with ayahuasca and I've seen miracles happen with ayahuasca. But I also saw that ayahuasca's power is too strong for everyone. And at the same time, I found that ayahuasca stimulates the third eye center and doesn't make the effect that San Pedro does in the body and in the emotions, which in a psychological term, the subconscious. So the body is the subconscious. The energy stored in the body are the subconscious. And San Pedro works on these energies by opening the heart and making peace with these. For example, when someone wants to quit smoking, you see them smoking, but they say they want to quit smoking and they cannot find out why they're smoking, and they cannot quit smoking. And so that's because it's in the subconscious. And the only plant that I found that really taps into that is the San Pedro.
Wow.
And so because of that, with all the cleansing, all the changes, all the great explorations that someone does in the ayahuasca, there's a need for someone or an entity, which is the San Pedro, that will help integrate all that, will help bring that into the body, embody it into the emotions, into the everyday life. And this is why I always add a San Pedro ceremony or 2 in any of the retreats.
Oh, this is amazing. This is
Right.
amazing.
And so yeah, that's the integration part, David. What was the second part of the question you asked me?
You said you do foods and sound?
Yeah.
Right. And so there are also retreats with only San Pedro. We do only 4 or 6 San Pedro ceremonies, and they are designed to be life-changing experiences where we do a detox. And so it depends on the level of the person, where they're at. And, we do a video call with them and we see where they are, and we make sure they are following a specific diet as a preparation for the retreat, because they can shock the system and it's not good for the kidneys or the lymphatic system. And then we do the detox and we do the San Pedro. And during the ceremonies, we do 2 or 3 sound baths, and we do sound tuning for all the energy centers of the body. And so this is the whole combination. If the group is okay with it and they are willing, we do a hike to the mountains. We have a cold dip in the waters up there. Otherwise, this is the retreat. Yeah, and when you have crystal singing bowls and Tibetan singing bowls, and your energy is completely open on San Pedro, the tuning is it's like you're tuning music. It's so beautiful and so fulfilling, and people really get real life transformation.
Wow.
I am intrigued.
Yeah.
Big time. Big time.
And so you also align with the fruits. It's funny because we were about plant medicines for so long, and we got some massive divine guidance.
It was on a mushroom trip years ago, and I was like, raw foods are the way. I didn't realize it was like high fruit at first, but then I experienced that with my own healing when doctor said I would heal. So yeah, so I'm so intrigued by, and then like the San Pedro. Now, do you work with the mushrooms too?
I work with the mushrooms. However, I'm very careful about the legalities of them. In Latin America, there are still question marks about them.
Right.
Even though, they are widely accepted here, and there's a law that you can have 8 grams of mushrooms or cannabis or any of the substances and not considered like something to be arrested for.
Right.
Still, I'm careful about that, and I don't want to be doing something illegal. I work with the mushrooms, of course. They are probably one of my favorite.
Right.
I truly see in them the most helpful and efficient ally for us as a species in terms of teaching and evolution. And so I do ceremonies with mushrooms, but not published online and not in places where it's not legal.
Right.
Yeah.
We're careful about kind of. No, we are.
Yeah. However, San Pedro, ayahuasca, and the other accepted plants here are protected by the indigenous pact that they did for the protection of the indigenous people and their culture. So
And
it's
we have a way to
100% okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We have a membership to a church where we can travel with certain medicines.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's loopholes, but we're like you. I mean, we've got to be really smart. Like where we plan our retreats is according to the legality and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that respecting the big structures and the big imposing governments is very important.
Yeah. And so with your upcoming, everything you're working on now, what are you working on now? What are some projects that you would like our community to know about?
Well, I started a shamanism magazine. It's free online.
Nice.
I'm thinking probably, do like a $3-4 a month subscription, just
that.
the return of the energy.
Yeah.
We're also doing online ceremonies. Probably once a month, like a shamanic gathering where everyone chooses their own plant for what they work with and where it's legal with them. And we open a Zoom meeting, and we have call Q&As, shamanic journeys with Icaros. And Icaros, for those who don't know, it's the chantings and the energy songs that are chanted to carry the energy for the person to go into a trance. So they're like spirit songs. And so they're like 2-3 hour gatherings once a month. And other than that, and I have my website where there's the schedule of the retreats for Peru this year.
I love that. And we're gonna when we publish this, we're gonna drop links so people can find you. Lot of our listeners listen while they're like commuting and driving. What website would they go to find out information about what you got going on?
Yeah, your next upcoming retreat.
It's called samadhihealing.com, and it's SAMADI and then healing, one word.
That's awesome.
The first coming retreat that is published is in January 31st, and it's a detox. Nice. It's a 14-day, 6 ceremonies, San Pedro. And the ones after that, there are hiking retreats. There are retreats where we take people to Machu Picchu. There are retreats where we do the detox. There are retreats where we mix it with ayahuasca. So it's blends to help people find what works for them and what they feel called to.
I love the versatility. I love the versatility. That is awesome.
I worked a lot in a very traditional shamanic environment, and I saw the beauty of it. I saw the efficiency of it, and I also saw the limitation of it. And at one point in my journey, I was like talking with the shaman, and I was telling him, I'm just gonna eat some green leaves for my shamanic dieta. He's like, no, you need to eat meat, otherwise you don't eat food. And so I was like, this is a limitation in the belief system that I needed to break out from. And this is what made me, a raw vegan.
We're told the same thing.
Where I'm doing like detoxes of 30 days grape juice and
Yes.
doing my ayahuasca and my San Pedro, and tuning into different layers of consciousness that are very, very different than the traditional
Wow.
shamanism.
Wow.
And so I found that it's important as a shaman practicing in the modern world to use all the tools we can have to help people in their totality to heal. And I found that adding food, adding a singing bowl in an ayahuasca ceremony is not a crime. Adding a sound healing in a San Pedro ceremony is not a crime, working differently with traumas than seeing it as witchcraft is also a good thing. A lot of things that I changed in my practice that turned out to be very, very efficient for myself and for the modern world and modern humans. But that being said, again, I would like to re-emphasize that there's a lot of beauty, a lot of efficiency, and a lot of good stuff happening in traditional shamanism.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with everything that you said more. Like, I cannot believe this. This is incredible listening to everything that you're saying.
Yeah, Megan is very good at kind of putting her divine gifts and twists on different ceremonial things that she does. And they've always been so profound and
we've
so
experienced
beautiful.
the jungle medicine. Like we've experienced it. Like we've definitely experienced it. It was profound.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I agree.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. You're paving your own path.
I would love to experience one of your ceremonies.
Yeah, there was a part of me when I was sitting with the trees and the plants and all the spirits, and they said, I don't know if it's a delusion or a self-created story, but there was a part of me that knew that I needed to revive parts of shamanism that are not existing anymore. And I saw that since I have this capacity to listen and to hear to the spirits and see what they're aiming to deliver as a message, I saw that in that there's a responsibility to try to spread it as much as possible, to bring it back to the surface and help people, bring back the practices in a way that is not based in belief or in dogma, but really based in efficiency and things that work. And this is why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. I really think that it's okay like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're helping. At the end of the day, your patients, they're being helped, and that's
exactly the proof's in the pudding.
At the end of the day, they're being helped, and they're having beautiful, profound healing experiences, and that's
totally.
And it's unique. It gives someone a different experience than what they can get everywhere.
I have not heard of anyone working with the medicines in combination the way you are. It's very intriguing.
Thank you.
And we so much look forward to continuing to follow your journey and get out there sometime to experience you as well.
100%.
Thank you guys. It means a lot to me.
Well, man, before we ever jump off, we always ask everyone one question.
Okay. That's
right
exciting.
Right on the spot. If you could leave the world with one message, what would that be?
Love.
Of course. Quick. I love it.
Of course, it's love.
That's the answer. That's everything.
Yeah. Love is the answer, always. The heart center is the answer, always.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your work you're doing. And we are so grateful to be able to connect and continue to follow your journey.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Again, thank you very much for having me. It's been a true pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, and everyone listening, check him out.
Yes.
Go to his website today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Happy healing.
Bye.
Bye.